So these here are the equations we dealt with yesterday, yes? And I think most of y'all found them a little bit easier than what we dealt with 2 days ago, where it was just we didn't have the h and k. Now again, on your note sheets, I have these down this time, yes? Those are right at the top, the core connections.
Yeah, the one we did yesterday really helped me. See if I can close it.
Yes. Now, this will be the last that we'll be kind of adding on to it. And what we'll be starting out with is graphs. So we'll have a few graphs and then have a few of where they give us the vertex and the focus, or the focus and directrix, and they'll give us 2 of these pieces of information, and we're going to find the equation from it. So what we'll be looking at first and kind of determining is, based off the graph, based off the information given, which equation will we use? Now, when we look at this here, we see what the vertex is because they labeled the point here as the vertex. Now this is going 4, 8, so this is actually stepping by 2. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this vertex here is 2, 6, because it went over 6 and up 2. And I got that by just looking at the points that they gave us: 4, 12, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's just each one of those lines is going by 2 units. And the same way going up and down. So the vertex is 2, 6. The focus, not 2, 6.
Yeah, it's 6.
Thank you. No, I just, every now and then I have a tendency to flip those unintentionally, and so I've got to pay attention to that. So here we have 6, 2, and 10, 2. So that's our 2 that we have. Now we also see that it's opening to the left and to the right. Yes? Well, y equals equation opened up or down, x equaled opened left or right. So we could use the graph to kind of help us, because it also shows us on that connection, the core connect or core concept. X equals had the graph of opening left and right. So we could use that graph to kind of tell us this is what it is. But if we also look at the vertex and focus, the y value,
stays the same in 6.
the y value stays the same and the x value changes. So when we look at the focus and the vertex, for x equals 1 over 4p, the k value stayed the same. The y value, where y is at, and the vertex and the focus stayed the same, but the x value changed. So what that means for us is that the general equation is going to be our x equals 1 over 4p times y minus k squared plus h. This is our equation because it matched up. Not only the fact that the graph that they showed us opens to the right, but also because our vertex and focus has a change in the x value. Yes? Now we need to find h, k, and p. As we saw yesterday, h and k are not too hard to find, because the value of h and k are the vertex. And 2. Because
would you equal take the 6 plus p and then minus 6?
because the focus x value is p plus h. And we know that the value of h is 6, so we're saying 10 is equal to p plus 6. I'll scroll that up a little bit. To get p by itself, we would subtract 6 from both sides. And we find out that the value of p is 4, yes? And now that we have these three, we can plug them in. We would say x is equal to what? 1 over 4 times? Or 4, yes. I'm thinking of h. So 4 times 4 times y minus k, and k is squared plus 6. 1/16. Y minus 2 squared plus 6. So this here is about on par with what we finished yesterday's lesson with, yes? And that's it. That's what we're going to be doing for this entire, or for today. That's all we're going to be doing is finding the equation based off the given information. Based off the given information. So the next one here is it's opening to the right, yes? So we'll be using the same equation. X equals 1 over 4p times y minus k squared plus h. And again, when we have y or x equals, remember that values of h and k have switched places, because h is on the inside when it's y equals, k is on the inside when it's x equals. So it's going to be important to remember that swap, that change. And if you're referring back to the equation, instead of trying to just pull it from your head, trying to pull it from memory, you won't have any issues with that swap. Now it tells us that the vertex, well, you can see the y value is 4. The x value is, so negative 2. Because this one here is doing a step 2. Each one of those lines signifies a movement of 2 units. Now the focus. It's still at 4. This time it's at 2, 4. It went in the opposite direction. So at the vertex, we know h is negative 2. We know k is 4. But we still need to find the value of p. Because the focus value is equal to h plus p. So we would add. Since 2 is negative, we would add 2. 4 is equal to p. So we find the value of p is 4. Then what do we do next? We plug it in. So x equals 1 over, well, 4 times 4, we have that again. Y minus 4 squared minus 2. And that's all we have for this here. Questions on this here? Are we good with these graphs? Yes? Do we need to see another example of doing a graph? Yeah, we can do the next one. We can do the next one. So the next one, we'll move on here in a second. We good to move on? So this one here is y because it's going up. So our general equation, I'll write it down here, is y is equal to 1 over 4p times x minus h squared plus k. Now this one here gave us the focus. It gave us the focus. 1, 0.25. Says the focus would be somewhere about here. So you don't have to draw that on there, but that's where the focus would be. Now the vertex is going to be what?
Well, the H is 1 in the graph.
Yes, and the y is? Because it's right there on the x-axis. The vertex is always going to be the minimum or maximum point. This here would be the minimum. It's the lowest value it can be. H, K, P. Well, H is 1. K would be. Now to solve for P, we'd put what? 0.25 is equal to K plus P. What's K? So P is just 0.25. Because it really didn't add anything to it. So now we can plug our values in. Value of P was 0.25 times x minus 1 squared plus 0. What is 4 times 0.25? And that's it. Because 1 over 1 would reduce to just 1, and we don't write 1 in. We wouldn't write plus 0, so this is just our equation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see here what we have. Yeah. Let's move on to these here. So these here, we're going to do 1 or 2 of these here because we did some of these yesterday. Yes? Now, we didn't do one of this type because it gave us, we did mainly the vertex and the focus. We didn't do the directrix, but it's not that big of a difference. Vertex and focus, vertex and focus. Okay. So I just forgot to type that in. I'm glad. So it is y equals. Because if this problem was set up the way that I have it here, we wouldn't have a clue what to do. Because without that y equals, we don't know what we're talking about, yes? But luckily the directrix, when it gives you that, it's even a bigger kind of, this is what the equation is, kind of flashing light, than the focus in vertex. Directrix y equals. There's only one of them that has it, yes? So it directly tells us we're using y equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared plus k, yes? Because if it had been x equals, we'd have done the other one, because that's just what it says, y equals or x equals. Now the vertex does give us our h and k, because h is, k is -1. Now the directrix, negative 27 over 2 is equal to k minus p. Is equal to k minus p. So this one here is a little bit different. Head up, head up. Well, our k value is equal to -1 minus p. So now we need to solve for the value of p. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Negative p. We can do that on the calculator, and as I realized yesterday, you can do this in the graphing calculator. If you do alpha y equals, enter the fraction, negative 27 over 2 plus 1, I believe it'll actually keep it in fractional form. It should be. They did it yesterday. If we do this here, so when we do this here, I believe we should get negative 25 over 2. Divide or multiply by negative 1, which will just give us what? P is equal to 25 over 2. Because when we multiply by negative 1, well, multiplying anything by 1 doesn't change it, does it? No. All we're doing is what? Changing the signs. Negative and negative makes a positive. Negative, negative makes a positive. So P is 25 over 2. So y is equal to 1 over 4 times 25 over 2 times x minus h is 5 squared minus 1. This here, if you have trouble doing fractions and stuff like this here, type it in. Type it in. Type it into the calculator and let it do it. Because luckily for this one here, it's not too bad. 4 and 2 would simplify. Because I'll write this out. $25 over 2. Because this would be 4 times 25 over 2. Well, what's 4 over 2? 4 divided by 2 is 2, yes? So really we're saying 1 over 2 times 25, which is 1 over 50, okay? If it worked out that there was a fraction in the bottom of this, like it had turned out to be, it just was 25 over 2. We have to simplify that. And the calculator will do that. It'll do that simplification for you. And that's our equation there. That's it. Any questions on this here? Do we feel pretty comfortable with these here? No? Do you want to see one more? Yeah. Let's do this one. Because I feel focus, directrix and focus isn't too bad. Would you agree? Because finding the p-value for the directrix and focus is just h plus p equals number, or k plus p equals a number. The directrix is a little bit more complicated because of that subtraction. So here, y equals, well, it automatically told us. That's what's kind of nice with directrix, is it tells us this is the equation, because there's only one of the two that uses it. So we have x, okay, again, x equals 1 over 4p times, hold up, try again. Yep. And as I said yesterday and the day before, how I still reference that sheet, that's why. It's very easy to flip these. It's very easy to flip these. I still do it. I've done this for many years. I still do it. So have that reference sheet handy just to check it. H is what? K is, and well, to find P, we need to solve for what? 73 over 8 is equal to K minus P. K minus P. We said the value of K was So what do we need to do next? We need to subtract 9 from both sides. We need to get the value of P by itself. you don't feel comfortable doing 73/8 minus 9, type it in, plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. There's nothing wrong with utilizing the calculator. So if we're going to plug it into the graphing calculator, we would do alpha y equals enter to get the fraction, 73/8, and then cursor over and say minus 9. And if we do that, we get what? What is that? 9 times 8 is 2, is it 1/8?
Yeah. It's -1. So I added.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Now the next step we would do is kind of multiply both sides by -1. You can divide both sides by -1. It does the same thing, multiplying or dividing. And we get that 1/8 is equal to P. Yes? Since we're subtracting. Oh, it should be positive, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The answer to -1
Ah.
minus 1.
Okay, so it should be -1/8. Because we end up having to change the sign. You're good? So any questions on how we found the value of P? We good with this here? So what we do next is we plug it in to our general equation. So we get y equals 1/4 times -1/8 times x minus h is 6 plus 9. Is that it?
How did you get 6?
8. I should have cursored all the way to the top. Thank you. I don't know where I got 6 from. So what's 4 times -1/8? Because 4 times -1/8 will give us a half. It'll give us a fraction, yes? We can't have a fraction inside of a fraction. So typing this in, if you type this into the calculator, it won't give you this. It won't give you 1/-1/2. It'll tell you y is equal to -2 times x minus 8 squared plus 9. It'll give you this here. But that's it. That's our answer. Is this right here. Any questions on any of this here? We good with this here? I mean, we do have more examples of this here, and the numbers can look funky, they can look ugly, but the process that we do doesn't change for this here. I just want y'all to look at this one here. This one here is referring back to what we did 2 days ago. And we could use those formulas we had 2 days ago, the ones that y'all didn't like too much, and do this here. But we could use these here. Because what's the value of h? K.
0.
So they're both 0. But the 7 is equal to K plus P. Well, we know K is what?
0, so P would equal 7.
Yes? So if we use the equation from 2 days ago, we just said P is 7, we plug it in. So the value, so this would be our y is equal to 1 over 4 times p times x minus h squared plus k. So even when we have the equations from 2 days ago, we can still use these. We can still use these formulas to solve for them and find the answers. It just ends up being we simplify down to this. So it still works.